Here's a nice surprise. A fine drake goosander out on the floodwater, part of a story with some other surprises too, connecting people, wildlife and yes, politics. And it's centred on a very special place, a chalk stream, a rare place on the planet, and we'll see just how special it is, how super this place was, is and could be, people permitting. The local coot is a bit of a character, tends to be somewhat neurotic, and in January, when our story starts on the Kennet, he's having to cope with a serious flow. Across half a year, we'll follow a range of characters whose lives are dependent on the chalk stream between Marlborough and Hungerford, and eventually to the sea, the North Sea, very different to here right now. Underwater, life goes on. Then there's rain. More falling water disturbs a young moorhen, but it's supposed to be an aquatic species. Like the coot, quick drink. And there's plenty more where that came from. Year of the floods, climate change. Predator and prey, cormorant and fish, whatever the sign says. And that greenery will turn out to be supporting a crucial food chain in a few months' time. The Kennet is just about bursting its vegetated banks. Easy access for local homeowners, but it could also mean easy access for flooding too, in which case it could be a risky place to live. And you're not particularly welcome anyway, an important factor made pretty clear. Not if you're a moorhen. The footbridge is just the job, though he's quite capable of swimming across. Or even flying, though not very well. Like his relative the coot, he's mainly a vegetarian, pecking with his colourful beak at one end and flashing his tail at the other. And later, chicks will follow that leader. But that won't happen for a few months, when spring comes to the River Kennet, as we'll see. Right now, where the A4 bridge crosses this unique chalk stream, so special, it's frosty above, but under the surface life is starting, and even by the ice the mallard pear is busy. And of course ice is one form of water, everything from skating to skiing, or with your whiskey or gin and tonic. All as pure as possible for life, a vital ingredient everywhere, especially on the flooding River Kennet, which could be facing challenges of its own, not so much duck-made as man-made, to come. Snow is water too, and despite a discouraging situation, our pair press on into the blizzard. Not much discourages the local coot, who seeks shelter in a bed, a reed bed, one of the many plants we'll follow in the next few months. And that's another way of avoiding snow. A white mute swan in white pure snow. Meanwhile, down at Hungerford, by the footbridge used by the local moorhens, a pair of swans are searching for hidden treasure. Green weed, another vital ingredient in the natural world of this potentially fertile chalk stream in Wiltshire. It's going down its long throat and its bill trails the life-giving water. It's a double technique. Feet at the back end does the pushing through the water, the kennet's lifeblood. The sign says Hungerford, heart of North Wessex Downs, area of outstanding natural beauty, and it still is, well, just. But they don't mean daffodils, pansies and other domesticated plants. They may look pretty and decorate the town, but it's the river itself that, for now, hides the area of outstanding natural beauty. But here comes the sun. Through the willow leaves, some of the first to sprout over the river, where a wood pigeon is singing, well, sort of. For the drake mallard, this is not the one, but there's still time for a family, as the signs of spring blossom on, like the very welcoming magnolia, an early sort of candelabra in the sky. And the water-loving alders will soon be producing flowering catkins amongst the bare branches. The warming sun brings out the best on the elders, maybe with a future in wine or cordial in a few months' time. But now the fresh shoots are hiding a drake and a duck mallard. Perhaps she'll nest by one of the several streams that are the River Kennet at this point in its journey, eventually to the sea. Fresh to salt water, quite a difference. Mist is water too, so is dew. It may end up dripping off the new willow shoots and onto the back of a Canada goose. It's an introduced species of waterfowl whose presence here on the Kennet is not always welcome. Over here from over there. Not so much a visitor, more a question of residents who are trying to protect this unique strip of living water as best they can. And that apparently includes a party. Local pressure and action can be effective, but there's a lot to deal with in these times of extra house building, sewage, and simply overpopulation by people. Gardens with pretty houses can be very expensive and favoured by the fishing fraternity. Quite a serious issue for all concerned about the River Kennet, its valley and its future. As the iris starts to shoot too, the drake mallard is looking good, a real survivor. His mate is rather less glamorous and camouflaged somewhat. She's taking advantage of the prolific vegetation brooding for the future too. But that is by no means safe and certain. Predators like this kestrel hover on a kestrel-made perch with superb eyesight and a family to feed as well. Pairs of mallard try to relax and the floods are beginning to drain away back into the river. Another home, this one ripe for development, as estate agents say. Perhaps a fishing fan. Or this, call it semi-detached, for now anyway. That's better. As the water level drops, fish become more concentrated in the flow. This is well oxygenated chalk stream water, at risk as we'll see. It can get complicated with strong local feelings involved. Big house, big money. This one less so. Is that a face? Further downstream is a seriously big house, where the Kennet is stopped in its flow to form the lake at Ramsbury, about halfway on our journey between Marlborough and Hungerford, and onwards again via London to the North Sea and all that involves, good and bad. Squadrons of Canada geese fly in to allegedly decorate the place. New willow leaves definitely do, with many more trees to unfurl their greenery. Also flying in, rather surprisingly at night, are beetles, not the musical type, and pond skaters, well armed. Whirligigs have two pairs of eyes for seeing both above and below the water. They dive when frightened, and it's thought that on a rainy night they may land on wet roads by mistake. A new garden pond may receive some special visitors. It's an underwater jungle down here. Eat and be eaten. Tadpole, snail, algae. A newt lurks and arrives. Gets worm, fights, even attacking its own tadpoles. A dragonfly larva grabs a water flea with its so-called mask. Another tadpole too. Survivor so far. 4 legs, less tail, starting to look like a tiny frog. But along the riverbank, an extremely aquatic reptile is on the hunt. A grass snake, a swimmer through the surface tension in search of its favourite prey, frogs of all sizes. That's better. If you're small and light enough, the surface can be a usable habitat, a whole way of life in fact, where everyone is watching. These water walkers do exactly that, with the support of leafy rafts. And here comes lunch, for the whirling beetles too. Pond skaters use their front legs to grasp their prey, the middle legs as oars to row themselves, and their hind legs as rudders. That's quite a combination. Plus very large eyes to find their prey, like vultures onto a carcass. The Kennet flows on from the lake at Ramsbury in its various shapes and sizes to the last daffodils of the spring. Like those introduced Canada geese, this is a rather unnatural scene, though a welcome one to us every year. Parts of the valley are designated as SSSIs, Sites of Scientific Importance, and that's what they are. Nature as nature intended, you might say. Well, perhaps not. Because of this, now what's going on here, literally? Onto the soil, and then probably being washed into the river by all that rain we had, and the flooding too. Chemicals of all sorts are increasingly sprayed on the fields, and may end up inside us. Or in a swan, via the vegetation and the water it depends on. The buck stops here. Thames Water. Thames Water, a centre of attention in the media for many months now. And here's another wetland expert joining a drake mallard. Indicator species they're called, revealing warnings from the wild and the water. But what's this? Fishing in a sewage outfall. With some success. But what's in that fish exactly? Would we eat one from here? Little egrets have various ways of fishing which probably help their spread from Europe right across the UK. Globally, at one time they were killed for their plumes in high fashion. That started the RSPB, the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, now with over 1 million members. That's a bit of good news. This foot action flushes out the food, or a quick stab for the tiniest tiddler. And that doesn't go unnoticed down below. Another possible prey is a pair of nesting sticklebacks with a bright red male on duty. It could be an unhappy ending for him and his mate. She's more camouflaged as the pond skaters skate overhead. Perhaps they never knew what they'd missed down there in the still partly flooded fields. Foot wiggling, grabbing. Just waiting, all in the egret's armoury, down by the wide riverside where the crops are growing and the trees changing. Young alders are nurtured by the foaming weir, past forget-me-nots, and onwards past a dwelling. Most certainly ripe for development. But this riverside patch of land is surely promising to the right buyer, probably a keen fisherman who could be searching the Kennet Valley for a building opportunity. Now the narcissi follow the daffodils, and in the nearby fields this is where the sprayer sprayed. Farming is tough today, whether it's solar panels, arable, livestock, employment, even agro-tourism as it's now called. Sometimes these possibilities compete, indeed overlap. And forestry is another option, long term, but it could benefit wildlife eventually. Take the osprey, the fishhawk. It's been a huge success for the RSPB and is now breeding in several places in the UK. How about here? But would it be popular with the fish people? Otters, also popular in theory, but they are competitors and will sometimes raid fish farms, though that's our fault for putting temptation in their way, or rather in their river. The coot is mainly vegetarian, though it reveals a surprising, rather disturbing sideline, as we'll see. Down there in the world of the coot, spring is on the way too, as vegetation comes to life. And not everyone is welcome, clearly so. Here there are ducks at the bottom of the garden, with a privileged view in both directions. They're everywhere. Well, until they're not. It must be May, with the marsh marigolds, a kind of buttercup, which likes it wet. His mate less so, up on the riverbank in the encroaching greenery. The ducklings to come must avoid the dagger-like beak of a grey heron, always on the lookout for a snack, be it fish or fowl. Oh, missed. Also in this greenery are the white flowers of hedge garlic, the favoured food plant of the stream-loving orange-tip butterfly. This pair's being watched by a fisherman as they keep on trying. And then away, up they go, up and away, towards pastures new, where cattle graze and add their emissions and manure to doubtful benefit the River Kennet and all that lives on it, or at least tries to. May blossom. You can walk by the river, indeed across it via a country road, and indeed a splendid wooden bridge to the intriguing Chiltern Foliat. Nice trout, care of Waitrose. They're also known for their lamb. And between them, their contribution to the River Kennet, though small, is a factor to be reckoned with. Grass to poo and pee. Woolly seeds will be blown away and carried downstream to start more of the same. That's the tradition round here. But action for the River Kennet is on the case. And it's not going to be easy. This lovely place is well worth fighting for in a fast-changing world where it's often just money that counts. The gardens are at their best now. Well, it's the underwater flowers of Crowfoot that are making themselves seen as the sun shines on a swan and a carpet of floating white. The usually impetuous Canada goose drops in to join the mallards for a wash and preen, right down to the last single feather. But where's the family, or families, of the potential parents, ducks and geese? No, something else has arrived. A message from the controversial Thames Water. The angling fraternity is a powerful lobby, and so are the consumers of good clean water, and swimmers too, like this colourful perch, returned to sender. But good news for the heron. The coots are easily upset. They fight with beak and claw, and a lot of noise. But there's a lot more to coots than meets the eye. And dragonflies have very good eyes. But not enough to see this coot coming? And they're supposed to be vegetarian, should have gone to coot savers perhaps. This precision flying and mating have been perfected over ages. They're an ancient group with an extraordinary life cycle of years as a larva living underwater, eventually to hatch into this flying, feeding marvel, like these damselflies, dependent on clean water. Now they navigate the vegetation along the Kennet. As bumblebees bumble about gathering nectar and pollen to continue their lifestyle. Where kingfishers perch, always on the lookout for a snack. He's not exactly well camouflaged. But then this adult mayfly has got other things on its tiny insect mind. Enough to save its life perhaps, if it can leave its aquatic birthplace and fly high and away. Not so lucky. The spider has other ideas. It's woven a trap, a web. But it breaks, and the mayfly survives amongst millions of others, pure water permitting. But will we permit it and encourage it? And the stickleback, the egret survivor, may now face a serious man-made threat. It's called blanket weed, and it's a killer. So is this, both bird and algal growth, which deprives the crucial water of oxygen, creating effectively a desert. Deadly to wildlife of many sorts, though this time his skill did the trick. Didn't he do well? The fish less so. If flies can be a backbone, this is the place. They feed the fish, which feed the kingfisher, and humans for that matter. This is trout heaven as long as it thrives. It's certainly important to a grey wagtail. So given a chance, nature in all its myriad forms can win, not lose. Like this abandoned garden, compared with so many others that are well kept and perhaps rather too neat and tidy. Something to sing about. That suits a pair of swallows that have moved in to nest, feeding on the many insects around the place, building their home with mud, glorious mud, and water, glorious water from the River Kennet. All the way from South Africa, where they roost in large reed beds, as you would, to this little strip that's home, where it's all happening, catching those flies. Back to the nest. And what goes in must come out. New feathers for that long journey to South Africa. Off they go. This is a busy time for all concerned, and that includes the long-awaited mallard ducklings. Unprotected away from water, they must look out for the defensive, aggressive Canada geese that have young of their own. The moorhen is concentrating on the stalks of water crowfoot, which is full of tiny flies swirling in the flow beneath the now fully formed willow leaves. So all this has been waiting, the plants and the clouds of midges now being pursued by the newly hatched ducklings busy in the buttercups. Lots of flies require lots of action. After all, there isn't much meat on a midge. These rafts of food, whether supporting ducks or swallows, are literally a vital source of supply. And any damage to the original underwater vegetation may be fatal. That's where the curse of algal blooms can kill, by the deprivation of oxygen. And that's what's been happening on the Kennet. Blanket weed is just what it says. Suffocation, or a super stream, or not. Here's Ratty, or rather less so, more a water vole than a rat, as a star in Wind in the Willows. It's now one of the fastest declining mammals in the country, where introduced mink, another North American import, and probably otters have been a problem and still are. Always alert, always busy with crowfoot business. It can swim through the jungle of stems. Like most rodents, it's a bit of a nibbler. Not ice cream though. Stick to crowfoot. Take some back to the burrow. Tourists and a duck join in. So do those flies, lots of them, which attract a grey wagtail. Its speciality, busy at both ends, tail and beak. Ducklings are here too. Back at base, the vole is extremely busy. And now for something special. This adult is moving its fairly big youngster backwards and forwards. Has a rest. Swims on. Quite a mouthful. And back again for another big baby. Why, we don't know. 5 total. They're very prolific, lots of litters. Talking of litter, here's a dumped tin can and a plastic toy. 2 examples of our throwaway society. Water is their world. Waterfowl share it with coot chicks down amongst the duckweed, crowfoot, and the dreaded algal growth that stifles. As a result of manure from cattle and chickens, millions of them in some places. It's the real cost, the price of a river paid in Tesco's or similar. This is a food chain in action. At Tesco's or similar, we are an extension of that food chain, whether it be duck, chicken or fish, but not coot or voles. Though in the past swan was favoured at banquets, tasting not unlike goose perhaps. Coot eggs may be offered too, but their domestic habits are unusual to say the least. Sometimes they may attack their own young. It's not known why, but it may be due to overcrowding or a response to too much begging. Moorhens, on the other hand, are better behaved. And the first brood of now brown chicks will help feed the second brood, known reasonably as helpers. Quite. There's food down there. Good if you can get it, and the coot can. An underwater field of green at the mercy of what we put in it. Many people who use the famous bridge at Chiltern Foliat take care of the river and appreciate its varied protected wildlife. That includes the familiar drake mallards. Perhaps not this today. Preening its black, not the usual white plumage with a distinctive red beak. A black swan. Domesticated from Australia. It's quite a surprise on the River Kennet at Hungerford, and another surprise, like the goosander at the start of our journey on our way to Reading, London and the North Sea. Next generations are important to the species, indeed the whole place. Human offspring, hopefully, will ensure the future of both the wildlife and what lives there, conditions permitting. These mute swan cygnets will struggle, not like ducks to water, and will only survive if their new home is pure and protected. A parent can only do so much. Well, come on in, the water's lovely, but is it? But down there lurks the pike, the water wolf. Not so much a threat to small birds and other fish, but it's more about what's happening to the whole ecosystem. Winners and losers, it's home. In this case, a fisherman seems to have lost a boot, which makes a perfect hiding place for a wandering eel. When it's clean, people can enjoy the fresh water, which can support lots of life. Coots are here too, as well as back upstream at Hungerford. Sadly, eels have declined a lot. They're famous with the ability to swim the Atlantic from where they're born. Though this one seems to have got away, hopefully to produce future generations. What was the uncontaminated upstream has now become the much more contaminated version further on, man-shaped and man-influenced. Herons and ducks have adapted well to live alongside us. That mallard pair have been a success story. Even the coot can cope amongst the plastic garbage, where disposable wipes and vapes are increasingly thrown away. It prefers a bit of greenery from under its lobed feet. So the future of the Thames, and indeed the whole river, including upstream and the special super stream, the Kennet, is in the balance. There has been massive media coverage about what we dump in our rivers, lakes and coasts. From herons and egrets to seals on the estuary, is the sun setting on our wonderful wetlands, especially the super stream, or not?